All right, we're on.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, nice to meet you. I'm here representing author Paige Turner. As you know, she's a well-known author, and I know that you're interested in signing her up with Best Books.
Yes, we would absolutely love to have Paige Turner as one of our clients. Um, I do know that she's interested in quite a few things. I've gone over a list of her requirements, and I think we have a table that we could probably both assess right now. I figured before getting into the financial aspects of this, we could probably try and figure out what she's expecting from us as a publishing company and what she'd like to do in the long run.
Yes. And then do you mind if I just read the list to make sure that we both are talking about the same 8 issues? Is that right? Okay,
That's
so
fun.
I have the issues listed as royalties, contract signing bonus, number of print runs, number of weeks that she has to promote, number of books, advance, number of countries where the book will be sold, and the number of clubs that will adopt the book. So we're talking
Perfect.
about the three items.
Yep, I think we're on the same page.
Perfect. Alrighty. So do you guys normally follow the industry averages, or because she's a well-known author, are there different set of rules that would apply? What do you guys normally do?
We generally try to follow the industry standard, but to maintain competitiveness, I think we can also use the sway of our reputation in the industry. And Best Books has definitely set themselves apart from the crowd, which is why I think Paige is joining a good publishing company to work with. So with that in mind, I think I'd like to consider the amount of books she's published in the past, as well as what her hopes are for the future. And since she too also has a name out there, we'd like to help both parties benefit from this. So what I had heard is that all too often anymore, authors are looking to move to different publishing companies, and it pretty frequently. I'm wondering if she's at all interested in maybe staying on with us for more than one book.
She's definitely looking to do more than one book, but as you know, in the industry, that is true. Many of the people that do switch is because they tend to get greater opportunities when they make that switch. I guess it's known in the industry that after a switch happens, they just become better known. But again, that's something that we can negotiate. She is looking to do more than one book, but
Mm-hmm.
we're happy to negotiate with terms, whatever you guys want to offer. Yeah.
Okay,
So
well, let's start
would
with
it be
one for
best?
now. We can start
Yeah.
with the baseline and then go from there if we think there's reason.
So when I looked at the industry averages, what they do is they do a tier program. So if we start talking about royalties, what they do is per the first 5,000 books will pay you this percentage. For the next set of 5,000, we'll pay you this percentage, and then so on. Is that something that you guys tend to do or would be willing to consider? Because what we're offering is to do that tier program and then do the industry average is to go 12.5, 15%, and then 25%. So it's first 5,000 books is 12.5%, the next 5,000 books is middle term, and then the last term. Is that something that, well, again, that's something from the industry average, and that's what we were thinking of doing it like a tier program. 5,000, 5,000, anything above 5,000 goes to the last tier.
Okay, and it starts off, you said at 12.5%,
12.5,
and then what were the next increments?
12.5, 15, and 25%.
Okay, 25 for five for the additional, like I guess that would be 10,000.
Like anything above 10,000.
Okay, gotcha. All right, interesting. We were actually thinking 12.5% would be a pretty fair, slightly above average royalty to consider for an author. And with her having name recognition, I'd like that to be a good starting point. But again, with all the other factors to consider, I'd like to make sure we cover all the other items before settling on any numbers.
Yes, of course.
So is Paige interested in spending a lot of time promoting her book? And if so, what is she looking at? I mean, I don't know if she's available to take off more than, say, 4 months, but we would love it if she could get out there and drive publicity for it as long as possible. But I think that would also help get the sales out as well. We can get the number of books sold and everything.
Ideally, as an author, she doesn't like to be out there promoting because she really feels as though she could have better use of her time when she's writing a book. However, maybe we could consider doing a promotion and bundling with a book club. Let's say she's promoting while she's attending a book club. I think that would be a good way of maybe bundling that, and so she has a better use of her time. So that would be maybe something that we could do.
I definitely like that idea. It sort of did the 2 birds with 1 stone approach. Yeah. And I'm sure that would help with the adoption in the book clubs as well if the author shows up for a reading or something.
Yep.
Okay. So what is the minimum number, or I should say the maximum number of weeks that Paige would be willing to promote her book?
Let's say she doesn't like it, but I would say maybe 25 weeks at most.
Okay. All right. Well, I think she'd have the opportunity to visit quite a few book clubs, and I think we should try and shoot for maybe 4. If she can be out there for 25 weeks, my goodness, that's 6 months and a day, or a week, excuse me.
Okay,
actually,
so
we could even do 5 book clubs, actually, because if we target even just 1 club a month while she's out, I mean, 5 would be easily achievable.
Okay, yeah. So I'm highlighting and notating those as so we've covered 1, 2, tentatively covered at least 3 items.
Yep.
So we're doing well. So the next item that I have is a contract signing bonus. And then on that, again, I was thinking of doing it like a tiered process. When I looked at what the industry does is they divide it into 3 portions. So they get a third during the signing of the contract, a third once the manuscript is delivered, and then a third at the time of publication. So considering that if that's something that you guys also do, then we can start about what would we want as a contract signing bonus.
Do you have any idea what Paige was receiving in her previous books publications?
So when she signed the contract, I don't have an actual number of what she received in the past, but right now she's looking to get something around 50,000. Is that something you're willing to consider? And again, it wouldn't be 50,000 at the time of signing. It would be 50,000 divided by 3. So it'd be 50,000 at the time or a third of 50 the time the contract is signed, a third at the time a manuscript is delivered, and a third at the time of publication. That way, both parties have, an incentive. Like she'll have an incentive to give these items at a good point in time. She's incentivized to deliver a good product, and that way but that's also negotiable.
I like that methodology, actually. I think psychologically that works for the American public in general. But okay, so I have that noted down as 50 being the requested amount,
but paid in thirds. Yeah. So she has an incentive. So, and also you guys know that she's willing to give the product and she's willing to deliver it, and you guys are going to hold her accountable, because if she doesn't deliver what you guys need, then you're not going to give her bonus. So I thought that might be a good middle ground.
Yeah. Okay. And then as far as number of print runs for the book, since the goal is to get as many books out there as possible, and with her promoting for a little over 6 months, I think that we would have every opportunity to print we could probably shoot for at least 3 or 4 different print runs.
Okay, and then one option that I thought about that, and also too, both parties have skin in the game, mainly her, is you guys could say after 5 months, if we have this number of books sold, then we do 3. But if you have more than this number of books sold, then we do 4 print runs. Again, that's an option that we thought would be fair for both parties.
Okay. All right. I like that plan. So what are your thoughts on the minimum number of books to be sold? So why 5 months? Why would 5 months be the deciding factor?
Okay. That's not set in stone. It would be whatever, I don't know what that I couldn't find industry average. So when I Googled, I couldn't find like industry averages after this number of months. Or maybe we could do 6 months if that's like half of a year, or 3 months. I don't know. Maybe
I do like that idea. I hadn't considered that, but I definitely think it's fair for both parties to not lock into a certain number without knowing what to expect. And if the results are a lot different than anticipated, we can still accommodate that. So after
if
6 months,
sales are good, you want to print more. If the sales are not that great, it's like why are you opening up yourself for something that might not be profitable? So
yeah, exactly. Okay, so I like that. Let's do the 6 months because I like round even numbers. And that also gives, that's the same amount of time she's going to be out there promoting. So I think that'll give us a very good idea of where we're at in the market with popularity and interest. So after 6 months, let's say, let's see, what number do we want to target? You had been mentioning royalties in terms of increments of 5,000 books.
We could do 5,000.
So what if we were to do that?
I think that sounds like a good idea.
So let's shoot for 15,000. Let's say if we're 15,000 sold after 6 months, we'll do 3 runs. And if we are at 20,000, we can do 4 runs.
Wait, so that would leave a gap between 15 and 25. Should we do anything up to 15, 3 runs, anything above 15, 4 runs? What do you think of that? So it doesn't leave that gap.
So at or below 15 is 3, and anything above 15 would be 4?
What do you think about that? Okay.
I like that. Okay, so I guess right now we will, I'd like to go ahead and settle on the 4 book runs just because I'm trying to be optimistic in the business. I think she's going to have a great opportunity to sell the book. She's going to be out there for a long amount of time. If we can get this into book clubs, there's going to be even more people buying it. And then, after the 6 months, we can reassess. But for the time being, let's shoot for 4.
To do 6 months, to keep in mind, if 6 months, then 5 books, anything. If she's willing to promote anything above 6 months, then 5 books.
Hold on, where are you at?
Oh, the number of book clubs that will adopt the book. Is that what we're talking?
Oh, so, sorry, yeah.
If she promotes,
what did you have down?
If she promotes for 6 months, then 4 books. If she promotes any longer than 6 months, then 5 book clubs.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great stretch target too, because that's more than a month per book club.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we can go back. We're going to reassess all of these numbers before we say yes to anything.
Yep.
Okay, and then the number of books. So I know she's interested in remaining competitive in the industry and wants to be open to other publishers. What would she be willing to stay with us for 2 or 3 publications, and if not, why?
So honestly, the least she would want to do would be 2 books. However, and the reason for that is if she were to move after 2 books to a new publisher, she'll have more publicity and then she'll be able to leverage because they tend to get a bigger pay at that point. But what I was thinking of doing is maybe doing like setting a contract for 2 books now, but with the clause that after the 2 books are done, to consider anything more than 2 books, if she gets an offer with another publisher, to come back to you guys first, and you guys would have the first refusal offer to say, well, what if we give you, and then again, we're going to bundle that with the advance. What if we give you an advancement of this much if you choose to do 3 books, or an advancement of this much more if you choose to do 4 or 5 or 6 books? And that way to continue the relationship with Best Books, but at the same time for Paige not to lose out on the opportunity of the potentials that would be out there with her being able to go to other publishers. What do you think about that option?
I understand not wanting to be locked in, that's for sure. I do think that if we could do 2 books and then the condition being, let's say after 6 months, we would have the right of first refusal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then move up to another tier. Let's talk about 3 books and then.
So I think I'd only like to consider advances is if she was going to be publishing more than 2 books with us. Mm-hmm. There's additional incentive to stay. It's also a reward for her work and the great relationship we've developed.
Mm-hmm. So what would you think would be a good tier of advancement? Like, if you're willing to do 3 mm-hmm. books, this is how much we would offer of an advancement. If you're willing to do 4 books, this is how much. What do you think would be a fair number?
I think increments of 15 would be fair.
15? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To correlate, 3 would be 15.
So if she were to stay with us for 3 books, we would give her an advance of 15 at that point for the 3rd book. And then for the 4th book, there would be another $15,000 advance.
Okay. I think that's very fair. I agree. So.
Okay. All right. Where are we now?
Number of countries. This is one that I'm not sure, again, how the industry works and what costs come with this, because I don't know if the books need to be translated or if there are any language barriers or culture differences, but ideally any author would want his or her books, in as many countries as possible. But here I
think it's possible to get easily 10 countries here. I mean, English is the predominant language globally. If we were to start going into smaller countries or even the larger countries, but catering to other demographics, we would consider the translating.
Okay, should we do that as a tiered system as well? Like maybe we could say if this number of books are sold by this time, we go into 10 countries. Anything above will go to 12 or 13.
I definitely think 10 would be a great starting point, and then we can apply the tiered approach for any more after that. And again, we can base it off of the number of books being sold, which is simultaneously affected by the print runs, etc.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with that.
Okay. So let's see. We'll do the approach for that as well. Okay. I think that leaves the fun stuff, right? We're down to royalties and the signing bonus.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that there were 3 different tiers for the royalties, and it was based, did I take my notes right on that?
Yep.
Okay. So 12.5, 15 to 25. Our standard is 10. And because we have not worked with Paige before, I think you know, between 10 and 12.5% would be a good starting point. And like everything else, if we could make that tiered, there's incentive to stay with us, because in the long run, she benefits more, we benefit more. It's a win-win situation.
Okay. And you're looking to do 10 as a starting point?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. And it would be 5,000, 5,000, and anything above 5,000. It would be the last tier.
Yeah, so for the prints, we'd like to look at, yeah, we can do that based off the number of books selling as well. But how many books she stays on with us for.
You might end up being the last one in the building.
Okay, I have my keys.
All right. How did you want to lay out the tiered approach for the royalties? If we start at 10%, would we be looking at the number of prints or the number of books? I'd like to focus on the number of books personally.
Okay, yeah. Yes, number of books sold.
Oh, sorry. I guess I wasn't clear. The number of books that she stays on for with us. So if she were to stay on for more than 2 book publications, then we would also increase royalties.
Oh, okay. I thought the number of books was tiered with the advancements, and then the royalties was based on the number of books sold.
Oh boy, I'm reading my chicken scratches again. Okay, so say that one more time.
Yeah, when I was looking at the number of, if we talk about the number of books to be published with best books, I have that tiered with advancements.
Yes.
And I have that listed as, we will definitely do at least 2 books, and then after that point, you would have, best books will have the right of first refusal to, if we were to say, let's do 3 books, then we would get an advancement of 15,000. If we do 4 books, it would tier up to 30, then 5 would be 45, and 6 would be 60.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's how I, okay. And then.
So that's why I was thinking the royalties. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Should we agree to those terms now? Do you say yes to that? I say yes to that, but.
I've liked what we've laid out
yes
right now, but I would like to finish hashing out all the other sections before we review one final time.
Okay. So if we go back to royalties.
Yes.
What I had originally put out there was the tier system of, if 5,000 books are sold, then she gets a 12.5%. If more than 5,000, the next 5,000, 15%, and then anything above 10,000 would be 25%. But then you said your best books' average is 10%. So then the starting point would be 10% for the first 5,000 books sold. Okay.
Yeah.
And then move up a tier, which the next one would be the 12.5%.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be 15% and scratching off 25%.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is only for print books.
As opposed to ebooks or hard copies?
Yeah, ebooks and hardcovers, yeah.
Well, I don't know if we want to get into that just yet. I am considering all these numbers to be mixed of all different types of publications of the book. And generally speaking, the first 6 months of any publication is usually in hard before it goes soft.
Yeah, so I would consider this okay for print books. And then anything else can be determined at a later time.
Sounds good to me. All right, that leaves the best section for last, the signing bonus. So let's see. We have a pretty good idea of what a range would be for her, and you had suggested maybe breaking that into thirds. She was asking for 50, I think.
Mhm.
And I'd like to ask if it's not too insensitive, but what was her previous signing bonus?
So we don't have any records of what the previous signing bonus was, but based on her demand and her current reputation, that's where we're basing the number off. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
So it would be tiered into threes. It'd be.
Yeah, you said for the signing, for the manuscript, and then the publication.
Yeah, so she would be asking for 16,667 at the time of signing.
I'm sorry, say that number one more time.
It would be 16,667 at the time of signing, and then 16,667 at the time of the manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very last tiered would be at the time of publication.
Gotcha. Okay. How about
we could break it down in a different way? Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of something a little less, 40. This is still at top of the line, I mean, for our industry as far as signing bonuses go, simply because we have left so much wiggle room for, advancements based on the number of books that she sells, based on the number of books sold, based on the number of countries it goes in, et cetera. So using that incentivized approach, I would like to throw out 40, which is still not too shabby at all. And instead of breaking that into thirds, what if we were to do half? We could do half up front and then half the publication.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. So I think we've discussed everything. I just want to make sure that I've understood what we've talked about. So I'd like to just run through everything real quick. Well, not real quick, because I'm not trying to deceive you or anything, but starting at the top with royalties, we talked about 10%. And then this would be tiered based on the number of books that are sold. And that would be in increments of 5,000 books.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then for the signing bonus, which we just discussed, we'll do 40,000, split it in half, 50% up front, 50% at time of publication. The number of print runs for the book will be based on the number of books. Well, let me start over. The number of print runs for the book, we will start off with 4. That's what we'd like to. That's what we'd like to shoot for. After 6 months, we will reassess based on the number of books sold. We can adjust the number of runs, maybe down to 3 if needed. Number of weeks we're asking Paige to go out and promote will be 25. That is 6 months and 1 week, and that's the most she's willing. And we're very grateful that she's going to be promoting this. I think it's going to be a top seller. So the more publicity we can get, the better. The number of books that she will publish with us, we're going to say 2 for now. We can come back and talk about that after the publications have been made. The only stipulation is that she would give us the right of first refusal if we ask for 3.
Yep, and then the incentive is that she'll receive tiered advancements in increments of 15,000.
Yes, so if she stays on for a 3rd publication with Best Books, we will send her an advance of 15,000. But for this first publication with us, there will not be an advancement. The number of countries, we're going to say 10. And we were also going to base that as a tiered approach as well on the number of books sold.
Anything above,
Do you want to say after 6 months for that one too?
Yeah. So anything above a certain number after 6 months would push it to another tier and then another tier.
Yeah. And I liked your suggestion of 5,000. I think it's a nice hearty round number to roll with. So we can base that on increments of 5,000 as well. And then finally, the number of book clubs that are going to adopt, we're going to shoot for 5 because we want this baby to sell. And the more publicity, the more book clubs that are pushing it, the better for all of us.
Yep.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? Do you have any feedback?
I feel really comfortable with everything. What did we talk about? there is one thing. Nope, I feel comfortable with that.
Me too. Okay.
I like the peer approach. It's good for both parties.
Yes. Well, it is. It really is a win-win. And as cheesy as that sounds, I mean, we're helping each other in the long run. And I realize we're mediators in this negotiation.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, we both want to sell this book, as much and as far and as wide as possible.
Yep.
So I think that looks good. If Paige has any reservations or concerns, I'm more than happy to discuss this again with you later. I think these are the numbers we're good with. We're not signing anything in stone today, so we've got some time to digest, but I'm really happy with this.
Likewise.
All
I
right.
think we found good compromises.
Agreed. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Trini, and I hope we get to do this again soon.
Yes. Bye. Have a good one.
You too.